Shalom, 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 Israel, giving no praise to Yahweh, Bashim, El Shabashim, Rakakatas, the honors to the apostles, elders, G.M.S. who I say, teach G. Hakim out there, pushing the word and truth and serious, give your freedom, your life to do so, more so now than ever before. For we are close to the end. Yeah, man, we've been saying that this war is heating up. Obviously, this war is only going to get more intensified and it's going to expand outwards, all right? And the reason that is, the reason that is because it's scriptural. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's scriptural. It's supposed to happen the way it's happening. And because the Most High declared it, through His beloved prophets. So, the apostles, elders, starting with them, had, declared it through scripture that Iran and Israel go to war, and these would like intensify and spread out, and it would be a global conflict centered around Israel-Iran war. Now we see how that can happen and how it is going to happen. Obviously, energy control, right? The oil, all right? So, to update, Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz, which cut off 20% of all oil supply. And they have Yemen, the Houthis in Yemen, closed the Strait of Bab al-Mandeb just recently, which is another 20%. So you have 40% of all oil cut off from the world now. And we're going to get into how this affects not just the economy, but food supply, medicine, clothes production, you name it, electricity, everything, the cleaning of the water, it affects everything, all right? And you're going to keep this video kind of short. We ain't going to go too long. So it says NBCnews.com, 4 crew members, 2 rescuers killed in Red Sea attack. U.S. strikes ship in Gulf of Oman. The death abroad the Egyptian-owned Tihama, if confirmed, will be the first deaths in a Houthi strike on shipping since the Iran war began in February 28. Now, Iran had threatened that if this conflict continued, they would tell the Houthis to shut the Red Sea, all right, which is the Strait of Bab al-Mandeb. Now, that's another choke point from getting gas up out of the land. And this spells disaster, right? This spells disaster. People complaining about the economy now. With this strait being closed, it's only going to get worse. Gas prices are only going to increase even more. You got to look back a couple of months from now and be like, this is the good old days where gas prices was $4.50 a gallon unleaded, and it's not even that yet. But in a couple of months, you're gonna look back and be like, damn, man, we took advantage when gas prices was $5, because soon it's gonna be 8, then 10, and then you ain't gonna have no gas. So it says 4 crew members were killed in an attack by Iran-backed Houthis on a cargo ship in the Bab al-Mandeb Strait on Tuesday, Yemen's transport ministry said, while the U.S. military said it struck a container ship attempting to sail towards the Iranian port. The fatalities abroad, the Egyptian-owned Tahama, if confirmed, will mark the first deaths in a Houthi strike on shipping since the Iran war again in February 28th. Now, let's see. I proofread it. All right. So now it's talking about attacks on Pakistan. So again, absorbing more countries into this war. Houthis attack Saudi Arabia, so Saudi Arabia has to get involved with this war. All right, it's only going to further, yeah, it's only going to further exacerbate the problem. So let's type in this. All right. All right, cool. Let's read this. So Baba Memdab closed. Yemen's Houthi movement announced a naval blockade and threatened the closure of Baba Mendeb Strait, prompting some oil tankers and commercial vessels to turn around or reroute. However, total transit through the vital Red Sea checkpoint has not completely stopped as regional and coalition naval forces have moved to protect shipping. Now, regional meaning other countries have sent. This is. Let's get that real quick. Joel 3 verse 9, proclaim ye this amongst the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. And let's jump down, verse 12, let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there I will sit to judge all the heathen round about. Now this is how the heathens are getting us sucked into this war. Scripture also said, let the weak say I'm strong. All nations that don't want to fight is going to have to fight because their energy is so precious to their society that they're going to be forced to send military operations to open up the Strait of Hormuz. All right. So as background at that, Houthi blockade, the Iran-backed group declared a strict naval blockade targeting Saudi shipping lanes following regional escalation and reported airstrikes. Strategic importance. The strait connects the Gulf of Aden to the Red Sea, carrying a major share of global energy supplies and container trade. And it says retaliation risk. The announcement follows broader Middle Eastern conflicts and tensions involving key infrastructure threats. Impacts on global shipping, vessel rerouting. Certain operators choose longer paths around Africa Cape of Good Hope to avoid high risk, which we know, I believe that's like the Horn of Africa, and very dangerous route. Very dangerous because they had a lot of like storms and bad weather, rocky weather around that area. Higher cost, war risk insurance, fuel expenses have climbed as ships face severe delays. And mind you, these ships travel as fast as a bike, literally. So imagine yourself biking across the sea. It says they on average takes about 2 months. So these disruptions haven't been felt yet because on a mass scale is because you still have ships hitting their destination, but the damage is being done. All right, and it says let's type in how does this affect global countries? All right, let's see what it says. I don't know if that makes sense, but whatever. Let's see what chat. The escalation of Bab el-Mandeb Strait combined with the ongoing near-total shipping freeze in the Strait of Hormuz creates a double choke point crisis that severely damages the global economy because these two gateways handle over 25% of the world's oil and gas and roughly 10% of global container trade. A prolonged blockade triggers far-reaching consequences for different regions. And it says Saudi Arabia and Gulf nations. Gulf nations is the OPEC, Kuwait, Bahrain, UAE, United Arab Emirates, and a few others. It says the no alternative routes When the Strait of Hormuz faced disruption, Saudi Arabia diverted its oil via the east-west pipeline to its Red Sea port in Yanbu, with the Houthis specifically targeting Saudi shipping in Bab el Mandab. Riyadh's primary backup route is effectively chucked off. Stranded assets over 2.5 to 4 million barrels of oil per day standardly flowing through this pipeline network are now trapped or require high risk, heavily insured naval escorts. It says EU and United Kingdom high inflation and energy shocks, the rerouting tax. Europe heavily relies on Suez Canal and Red Sea route for consumer goods from Asia and energy from the Gulf, forcing mega ships around the Cape of Hope, Africa, adds 10 to 14 days to the journey. Supply chain delays. European factories face parts shortages, while consumers bear the brunt of skyrocketing retail prices due to war risks. Insurance premiums surging up 4 times the historical average. Gas crisis. LNG, liquefied natural gas, shipments from Qatar and Gulf states to Europe are delayed, threatening winter energy stability, meaning it's going to be cold as hell. When you don't have gas, how could you heat your homes? That's what boilers do. All right, converts oil to heat and sends the heat through hot water through spaces to heat the homes. And that's not just going to be in Europe. That's going to be in America, Canada, and other places like the islands and stuff. It says East import crises, all right? You know, they are highly dependent on imported food, fertilizers, and medicine. So all these nations, it says through threat. Yeah, so all these nations are starting to be affected. And I'm not going to get into it, but you can further type in, you know, how these nations are going to get involved to open the strait. And it tells you, man, that goes back to Joel, the 3rd chapter. So we seeing this thing play out real time. Looks like we are really, really close to the end. So this is, you know, this is a time to lock in with the Lord, man. You know, pray to the Lord. Ask for forgiveness. We're not perfect, you know. None of us is perfect. But we tried, man. Try your best, man. Lean on the Lord for these ill and treacherous times, man. That he may have mercy on our souls, you know, and show loving kindness, his loving kindness to us. So with that, I want to say shalom.